The discovery. In the year 2157, humanity had finally achieved the dream of interstellar travel. The United Earth Space Agency, UESA, had successfully launched its first faster-than-light, FTL, ship, the UES Vanguard, on a mission to explore the nearby star systems. Captain Liam Novak, a seasoned astronaut with a keen sense of curiosity, led the expedition. As the Vanguard ventured into uncharted space, its advanced sensors detected an anomaly in a distant star system. Upon closer inspection, they discovered a massive alien spacecraft orbiting a gas giant. The ship's design was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered, with sleek lines and an iridescent hull that seemed to shimmer in the starlight. Captain Novak and his crew were thrilled at the prospect of making first contact with an alien civilization. They followed protocol and attempted to establish communication with the alien vessel using universal mathematical concepts. To their surprise, the aliens responded and a dialogue began. The alien civilization called themselves the Zephyrians, and they were a technologically advanced species that had been exploring the galaxy for centuries. The Zephyrians were intrigued by humanity's presence and invited the Vanguard's crew to visit their ship. As the human delegation boarded the Zephyrian vessel, they were greeted by a tall, slender alien with iridescent blue skin and piercing golden eyes. The alien introduced itself as Ambassador Zorax and welcomed the humans aboard. The humans were in awe of the Zephyrian technology, which seemed to be centuries ahead of their own. The ship's interior was a marvel of engineering, with gravity control, advanced life support systems, and holographic interfaces that responded to thoughts. Ambassador Zorax gave the humans a tour of the ship, explaining their civilization's history and culture. The Zephyrians were a peaceful species that valued knowledge and exploration above all else. They had encountered many alien civilizations in their travels, but had never come across one quite like humanity. As the tour concluded, Captain Novak expressed his gratitude for the Zephyrians' hospitality and extended an invitation for them to visit Earth. Ambassador Zorax accepted the offer, and the two civilizations began to forge a new relationship based on mutual respect and the exchange of knowledge. However, not all Zephyrians were thrilled about the prospect of engaging with humanity. Some saw the humans as a primitive species that had not yet proven themselves worthy of their attention. Others feared that humanity's rapid technological advancement could pose a threat to their own civilization. As the Vanguard prepared to depart, Ambassador Zorax pulled Captain Novak aside and warned him of the potential challenges that lay ahead. The ambassador urged Novak to be cautious in his dealings with other alien civilizations and to remember that not all species shared humanity's values. With this new knowledge and a sense of both excitement and trepidation, Captain Novak and his crew set off to continue their exploration of the galaxy, eager to see what other wonders and challenges lay ahead. Little did they know that their encounter with the Zephyrians was only the beginning of a grand adventure that would test the limits of human ingenuity, resilience, and determination in the face of an unknown and often hostile universe. The gathering storm. As news of the Vanguard's encounter with the Zephyrians spread throughout the United Earth Space Agency, humanity's excitement about the prospect of interstellar cooperation grew. Scientists, diplomats, and leaders from across the globe eagerly anticipated the arrival of the Zephyrian delegation on Earth. However, not everyone shared this enthusiasm. Some nations, particularly those with a history of conflict and mistrust, viewed the aliens as a potential threat. They feared that the Zephyrians might be using the guise of peaceful exploration to gather intelligence on humanity's weaknesses. Meanwhile, the Vanguard continued its mission of exploration, venturing deeper into uncharted space. Captain Novak and his crew encountered several new alien civilizations, each with its own unique culture and technology. Some were friendly and open to the idea of cooperation, while others were more guarded and suspicious of humanity's intentions. As the Vanguard pushed further into the unknown, they stumbled upon a derelict alien spacecraft drifting in the void. Upon investigation, They discovered that the ship belonged to a species called the Krovax, who were known throughout the galaxy as fierce warriors and conquerors. The Krovax ship had been badly damaged in battle, and its crew had long since perished. However, the Vanguard science team was able to recover some of the ship's databanks, which revealed a chilling truth. The Krovax had been monitoring humanity's progress for decades, waiting for the right moment to strike. Captain Novak immediately sent a message back to Earth, warning of the potential threat posed by the Krovax. The UESA leadership, already on edge due to the growing tensions between nations, took the warning seriously and began to mobilize their forces. On Earth, the arrival of the Zephyrian delegation was met with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The aliens were greeted with great fanfare and given a tour of humanity's greatest achievements, from the towering skyscrapers of New York to the vast expanses of the Sahara Desert. However, as the Zephyrians began to share their knowledge and technology with humanity, some nations grew increasingly wary. They feared that the aliens were using their advanced capabilities to gain an unfair advantage over human civilization. Tensions reached a boiling point when a group of rogue nations, led by a charismatic and ruthless leader named General Zarin, launched a surprise attack on the Zephyrian delegation. The aliens were caught off guard, and several of their diplomats were killed in the ensuing chaos. The Zephyrians, outraged by the unprovoked attack, demanded that the UESA take action against the rogue nations. However, the human leadership was divided, with some arguing for diplomacy and others calling for retribution. As the political situation on Earth deteriorated, the Vanguard received an urgent message from a nearby alien civilization. The Tenari, a species known for their advanced sensor technology, had detected a massive Krovax fleet approaching human space. Captain Novak knew that humanity was not ready for a full-scale war with the Krovax. The human fleet, while advanced by their own standards, was no match for the battle-hardened Krovax warriors. Novak made a difficult decision. He ordered the Vanguard to break off its mission and return to Earth, hoping to warn humanity of the impending danger and rally support for a united defense. As the Vanguard raced back towards Earth, the crew could only watch in horror as the Krovax fleet drew closer, their weapons primed and ready for battle. The fate of humanity hung in the balance, and only through unity and determination could they hope to survive the coming storm. The confrontation. As the Krovax fleet approached Earth, the United Earth Space Agency scrambled to mount a defense. Captain Liam Novak, having returned from his mission aboard the UES Vanguard, took command of the human fleet. He knew that the odds were stacked against them, but he refused to let humanity go down without a fight. The Zephyrians, still reeling from the attack on their delegation, offered their support to the human cause. They provided advanced weaponry and tactical advice, hoping to even the playing field against the Krovax. The first engagement between the human Zephyrian alliance and the Krovax fleet took place in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The Krovax, with their superior numbers and firepower, quickly gained the upper hand. Human ships were destroyed left and right, their crews vaporized in the unforgiving vacuum of space. But the humans refused to give up. Under Captain Novak's leadership, they employed unconventional tactics and used their smaller size to their advantage. They lured the Krovax ships into the asteroid field, where they could use the rocky debris as cover and strike at the enemy's weak points. The Zephyrians, too, proved their worth in battle. Their advanced shields and energy weapons allowed them to go toe-to-toe with the Krovax, buying time for the human fleet to regroup and counterattack. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Krovax had underestimated the tenacity and resourcefulness of humanity. The human Zephyrian alliance, through sheer determination and sacrifice, began to turn the tide of the engagement. Captain Novak, leading from the front lines, made a daring move. He ordered his ship, the UES Dauntless, to ram a Krovax battlecruiser, sacrificing himself and his crew to take out one of the enemy's most formidable assets. The loss of Captain Novak was a heavy blow to the human fleet, but it also galvanized them. They fought with renewed vigor, determined to honor their fallen leader's sacrifice. As the battle neared its climax, a new player entered the fray. The Tenari, the species that had warned the vanguard of the Krovax's approach, arrived with a fleet of their own. They had been monitoring the situation from afar and had decided to lend their support to the human Zephyrian cause. With the Tenari's advanced sensor technology and the combined might of the three species, the Krovax were finally driven back. Their fleet, battered and broken, retreated into the depths of space, leaving behind a trail of destruction and debris. The human Zephyrian Tenari alliance had emerged victorious, but at a great cost. Thousands of lives had been lost, and the scars of the battle would linger for generations to come. On Earth, the news of the victory was met with a mixture of relief and mourning. The sacrifice of Captain Novak and his crew was honored with the highest military distinctions, and a memorial was erected in their honor. But even as humanity celebrated its survival, there was a growing sense of unease. The Krovax had been defeated, but they were not the only threat lurking in the depths of space. The universe was vast and full of dangers, and humanity would need to be ready to face them. As the Alliance leaders gathered to discuss the future, they knew that the road ahead would be long and fraught with peril, but they also knew that humanity had proven itself to be a force to be reckoned with. Through unity, determination, and the power of cooperation, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead, and they would emerge stronger than ever before. The turning point. In the aftermath of the battle against the Krovax, the human Zephyrian Tenari alliance worked tirelessly to rebuild and fortify their defenses. They knew that the Krovax would not take their defeat lightly, and that retaliation was only a matter of time. As the alliance leaders met to discuss their next moves, a new threat emerged. The Zephyrians, using their advanced communication technology, intercepted a message from a previously unknown alien civilization. The message was a declaration of war against the Alliance, citing the Krovax's defeat as a sign of weakness and an opportunity for conquest. The Alliance was thrown into turmoil. They had barely survived their encounter with the Krovax, and now they faced a new enemy, one with unknown capabilities and intentions. Admiral Ilara Voss, a brilliant tactician and the newly appointed leader of the human fleet, proposed a daring plan. She suggested that the Alliance launch a preemptive strike against the new enemy, using the element of surprise to catch them off guard and deal a decisive blow. The plan was met with skepticism from some of the Alliance leaders, who feared that a preemptive strike would only escalate the conflict. But Admiral Voss was convinced that it was the only way to ensure the survival of the Alliance. After much debate, the Alliance leaders agreed to the plan. The Zephyrians and Tenari pledged their support, and the combined fleet set out to confront the new enemy. The ensuing battle was unlike anything the Alliance had ever experienced. The enemy's ships were massive, dwarfing even the largest of the Krovax vessels. Their weapons were equally impressive, capable of slicing through the strongest of shields and armor. But the Alliance refused to back down. Admiral Voss led the charge, using her tactical genius to outmaneuver the enemy and strike at their weaknesses. The Zephyrians and Tenari fought with equal bravery, their advanced technology proving invaluable in the face of such a formidable foe. As the battle raged on, it became clear that the Alliance was outmatched. The enemy's ships were simply too powerful, and their numbers too great. The Alliance fleet was being decimated, and hope was beginning to fade. But just when all seemed lost, a miracle occurred. A fleet of unknown ships, sleek and shimmering with an otherworldly light, emerged from the depths of space. They positioned themselves between the Alliance fleet and the enemy, forming a protective barrier. The unknown ships opened fire on the enemy, their weapons cutting through the enemy's shields like a hot knife through butter. The enemy, caught off guard by this unexpected development, began to retreat. As the dust settled, the Alliance leaders watched in awe as the unknown ships approached. A hailing frequency was opened, and a voice, calm and melodic, spoke. "Greetings, members of the Alliance. We are the Lumina, a species long thought lost to the ages. We have watched your struggles from afar, and we have seen the bravery and determination with which you fight. We offer you our assistance, not as conquerors, but as friends." The Alliance leaders were stunned. The Lumina, a species of legend, had returned to offer their aid in humanity's darkest hour. With their help, the Alliance finally had a chance to turn the tide of the war. Admiral Voss, tears of relief streaming down her face, accepted the Lumina's offer. Together, the Alliance and the Lumina began to plan their next move, united in their determination to protect the galaxy from the forces of evil. The road ahead was still long and fraught with danger, but for the first time since the war began, the Alliance had hope. With the Lumina by their side, they knew that anything was possible, and that the future was theirs to shape. The negotiation. With the Lumina's support, the Alliance's prospects in the war had greatly improved. The advanced technology and wisdom of the ancient species proved invaluable in the battles that followed, and slowly but surely, the tide began to turn in their favor. As the enemy's forces were pushed back and their losses mounted, whispers of a possible end to the conflict began to circulate. The Alliance leaders, weary of the toll the war had taken on their people and resources, were eager to explore the possibility of a peaceful resolution. The Lumina, with their vast experience and knowledge of galactic diplomacy, offered to mediate the negotiations. They'd reached out to the enemy's leadership, extending an invitation to meet on neutral ground and discuss the terms of a potential ceasefire. To the surprise of many, the enemy agreed to the meeting. A delegation of their highest-ranking officials, led by a towering, intimidating figure known as High Lord Exarthak, arrived at the designated location, a small, uninhabited planet on the fringes of Allied space. The Alliance representatives, headed by Admiral Ilara Voss and accompanied by diplomats from each member species, approached the negotiations with a mix of hope and trepidation. They knew that the enemy was proud and unyielding, and that reaching a compromise would be no easy feat. As the talks began, it quickly became apparent that the two sides had vastly different visions for the future of the galaxy. The enemy demanded nothing less than total surrender and subjugation of the Alliance, while the Alliance representatives stood firm in their belief in the right of all species to self-determination and freedom. Hours turned into days as the negotiations dragged on, with neither side willing to budge from their positions. Tempers flared and accusations were hurled, and at times it seemed as though the fragile peace would shatter at any moment. Through it all, the Lumina remained a calm and steadying presence. They listened patiently to both sides, offering wisdom and guidance when needed, and slowly but surely, they began to chip away at the walls of mistrust and hostility that divided the two factions. As the talks entered their second week, a breakthrough finally occurred. High Lord Exarthak, in a moment of uncharacteristic candor, admitted that his people were growing weary of the constant fighting, and that they, too, desired an end to the conflict. Admiral Voss, sensing an opportunity, proposed a compromise. The Alliance would agree to recognize the enemy's sovereignty over a designated region of space, provided that they agreed to cease all hostilities and enter into a non-aggression pact with the Alliance. The enemy delegation was initially resistant to the idea, but the Lumina's skillful diplomacy and the growing realization of the futility of continued conflict eventually swayed them. After several more days of intense negotiations, a tentative agreement was reached. The terms of the treaty were far from perfect, and many on both sides grumbled about the concessions that had been made. But for the first time in years, there was a glimmer of hope for a lasting peace. As the delegations prepared to depart, Admiral Voss approached High Lord Exarthak and extended her hand in a gesture of reconciliation. The alien leader hesitated for a moment before grasping it firmly, a flicker of respect in his eyes. "We have much work ahead of us," Voss said, her voice steady and resolute. "But if we can put aside our differences and work together, I believe that we can build a better future for all our people." Exarthak nodded slowly, his gaze distant and thoughtful. "Perhaps you are right, human," he rumbled. Perhaps there is more to your species than we had initially believed." With those words, the two leaders parted ways, each returning to their own people to begin the long and difficult process of rebuilding and healing. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, there was hope for a brighter tomorrow. The New Dawn. In the months following the historic peace treaty, the Alliance and their former enemies worked tirelessly to rebuild what had been lost in the war. The scars of the conflict ran deep, both on the worlds that had been fought over and in the hearts of those who had suffered and lost loved ones. But through the pain and the grief, a new spirit of cooperation and understanding began to emerge. The Lumina, true to their word, remained a steadfast presence, offering their wisdom and resources to help guide the fragile peace. On Earth, the revelation of humanity's role in the galactic conflict had a profound impact on society. Old divisions and rivalries seemed to melt away as people came together in a newfound sense of unity and purpose. The United Earth Space Agency, once a symbol of human ambition and exploration, now became a beacon of hope and cooperation, working hand in hand with the other member species of the Alliance to chart a new course for the future. As the months turned into years, the Alliance and their former enemies began to forge new bonds of friendship and trust. Trade routes were established, cultural exchanges were initiated, and slowly but surely, the wounds of the past began to heal. For Admiral Ilara Voss, the architect of the peace, the journey was far from over. She knew that the hard-won stability was fragile, and that there would always be those who sought to undermine it for their own gain. But she also knew that the Alliance was stronger than ever before, and that together they could face any challenge that lay ahead. As she stood on the bridge of her flagship, gazing out at the stars that had once been the scene of so much bloodshed and destruction, Voss couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and hope. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but for the first time in her life, she knew that they were on the right path. Beside her, a figure stirred, and Voss turned to see Zoran, the Zephyrian ambassador, and her closest friend and confidant. The alien's iridescent scales glittered in the starlight as he placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "You've come a long way, Ilara," he said softly, his voice filled with warmth and affection. "I'm proud of you." Voss smiled, her eyes misting with emotion. "We've all come a long way," she replied, her gaze returning to the stars. "And we still have so much further to go." Together, the two friends stood in silence, watching as the galaxy unfolded before them, a vast and wondrous expanse filled with endless possibilities. They knew that there would be challenges and obstacles ahead, but they also knew that they had the strength and the courage to face them head-on. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy was at peace, and a new dawn was rising. It was a dawn of hope and unity, of cooperation and understanding. And as the Alliance looked to the future, they knew that they were ready to face whatever lay ahead together. Years later, as the Alliance celebrated the anniversary of the peace treaty, Admiral Voss looked back on all that had been accomplished. The galaxy had changed in ways that she could never have imagined, and humanity had played a crucial role in shaping that change. But more than that, Voss realized, the journey had changed her as well. She had started as a soldier, a warrior trained to fight and defend. But through the trials and the challenges, she had become something more. She had become a leader, a diplomat, and a visionary, someone who could see beyond the conflicts of the present to the possibilities of the future. And as she stood before the assembled leaders of the Alliance, Voss knew that she was ready to take on whatever challenges lay ahead. For she had seen the power of unity and cooperation firsthand, and she knew that together, there was nothing they could not achieve. The galaxy had entered a new era, and humanity, along with their allies and friends from across the stars, stood at the forefront of that era. The future was bright and full of possibilities, and as Voss looked out at the stars once more, she knew that they were ready to meet it head-on.